You wake before the alarm, your body already bracing for the day's demands. Your shoulders live somewhere near your ears now. There's a permanent ache between your shoulder blades, the weight of holding everyone else up. You've forgotten what it feels like to set something down and have it stay down. The mental arithmetic never stops. Who needs what? When they need it? What might break if you're not there? Your brain is a crowded airport at midnight, and you're the only person working. No one sees the invisible ledger you keep, the small resentments that accumulate like dust. Because you've become so practiced at swallowing your own thirst, your own breaking points, that eventually you forget you were ever thirsty at all. But your body remembers, and it's running on empty. Your coffee goes cold on the counter while you make someone else's breakfast. The hunger gnaws at 3 in the afternoon, but their need arrives first, always first. You skip lunch, you'll eat later, you tell yourself. Later never comes. The shower is your only kingdom, 4 minutes of scalding water. Your shoulders drop for the first time all day. Steam rises like a small rebellion. You emerge already pulling on yesterday's shirt. How are you? They ask. I'm fine, you say. Your voice doesn't crack, your body does, the tight chest, the trembling hands you hide in your pockets. That appointment card sits in a drawer, 3 months overdue. You'll reschedule, tomorrow, next week. But tomorrow arrives and someone else needs you again. And you disappear a little more into the life you're living for everyone but yourself. You stand in the doorway of your own home, and it doesn't feel like yours anymore. The dishes pile up. The paintings you started, they're still in the closet, canvas dust collecting like regret. You've forgotten what your own voice sounds like when it's not solving someone else's crisis. 3 a.m. Your phone buzzes again, and you answer, because you always do. Because somewhere along the way, you became the person everyone leans on. The strong one, the reliable one. But strength has a price. It's the ache in your chest when you realize no one asks how you are. It's the terrifying thought that if you stop, if you rest even for a moment, the whole thing collapses. And maybe you're not afraid they'll fall. You're afraid you'll disappear. You've learned to recognize yourself in the eyes of those who need you. There's a language spoken in your household, your workplace, your church, a language that translates your exhaustion into nobility. They call it dedication. They call it love. They frame your collapse as courage. And somewhere along the way, you started believing them. Rest becomes suspicious. A day off feels like theft. The culture rewards the ones who burn brightest, who sacrifice deepest, and you've internalized the equation so completely that your worth now lives in your usefulness. To slow down is to disappear. You've built an identity from your willingness to break. But what happens when the breaking becomes the point? Your hands shake as you pour coffee you won't drink. You're running on fumes now, the kind that don't show up in mirrors. Your body's sending signals you've learned to ignore. The heaviness behind your eyes, the way your chest tightens when someone needs you again. But they do. They always do. And now, when your daughter asks why you're crying at dinner, or your partner asks if you're even here anymore, you realize the terrible math of it all. You cannot give what you don't have. Your emptiness becomes their emptiness. Your collapse becomes their crisis. You're not helping anymore. You're drowning and pulling everyone down with you. And somewhere in that drowning, a question surfaces, one you're terrified to answer. There's a moment when you notice your hands trembling over tasks that once felt effortless. This is the language your body speaks when you've forgotten something essential. Ancient wisdom whispers what we've always known. You cannot pour from an empty vessel, not because you lack strength, but because the vessel itself has cracks, hairline fractures from pouring endlessly without ever being filled. You are sacred ground that needs tending, not a machine to optimize, not a function to maximize. The spiritual truth is this: depletion doesn't make you noble, it blocks your highest service. It distances you from the very humanity that makes your work matter. You are a human being, not merely a human doing. And what you do in the quiet moments, how you tend to yourself, determines everything you offer the world. Your hands are trembling as you pour water into a glass you forgot to drink from this morning. Notice that, the way you serve everyone else's thirst before your own runs dry. We've been taught that self-denial is noble, that exhaustion proves devotion, that pouring from an empty cup somehow glorifies the people we love. But what if the opposite is true? What if neglecting yourself is the most selfish act of all? When you abandon your own wholeness, you're not giving them your best, you're giving them your wreckage. Your overflow can only come from fullness. This isn't permission to be selfish, it's instruction to be whole. Because honoring the divine spark within you isn't vanity, it's obedience, it's sacred. The question isn't whether you deserve rest. The question is, can they afford for you not to take it? The flight attendant's demonstration has played out 1,000 times before you. Practiced, almost mechanical. But today, something lands differently. Listen to what they're actually saying. Secure your own mask first, not after you help your child, not once you've made sure your mother is breathing. First, your instinct rebels. It feels wrong, selfish even. But here's the truth they're teaching you. A parent unconscious from oxygen deprivation cannot save their child. A partner collapsed cannot hold up their partner. You become a body that requires rescue, not a person who can provide it. This isn't abandonment masquerading as self-preservation. This is strategic positioning. This is the foundation upon which all meaningful help is built. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. You already know this. The question is, when will you finally believe it? You're watching the clock drain you like a leaking vessel, yet you believe you have no time for the very thing that would seal the crack. This is the paradox they never teach you. 5 minutes of real presence, your hand on your heart, your breath slowing, your nervous system remembering what safety feels like. That 5 minutes creates hours, not on a clock, in your capacity, in the oxygen your cells actually receive. 5 hours of running on fumes, speaking from exhaustion, making decisions from depletion. That 5 hours costs you everything. Your words land differently, your energy contracts. People feel it. Your body keeps the bill. The mathematics of the spirit don't lie. Fill your cup first, and suddenly you have more to give. This isn't selfish. This is the only arithmetic that actually works. There's a moment when the martyr's crown becomes too heavy to wear, when you realize the exhaustion in your bones isn't noble. It's just exhaustion. A steward tends a garden differently, not with gritted teeth and self-annihilation, but with the quiet knowledge that the soil must be nourished so it can feed many. Your body is that soil, your mind, your spirit. The steward doesn't drain the well dry, she preserves it, she prunes, she waters, she rests the land in seasons, because a garden abandoned by its keeper feeds no one, least of all herself. This changes everything about how you give, not less, differently. When you understand this distinction, you stop surviving, you begin to tend. Your alarm stops. The house is still dark, and in that threshold moment, before your mind catalogs everything waiting, there's a choice. Not another thing to do, not another item on your list. 2 minutes, 120 seconds before coffee finds your lips, before your phone finds your hand. Sit. Feel your feet on the floor, one hand on your heart, not symbolically, literally. 3 breaths, deep ones, the kind that remind your body it exists. Then speak it. I am here, and that is enough. Not someday, not when you've accomplished more, fixed more, become more. Right now. This breath, this moment. This is how everything changes. Not by becoming someone different, but by beginning differently. Your phone buzzes for the 3rd time in 5 minutes, and your chest tightens, that familiar squeeze between obligation and depletion. What if that moment of hesitation is actually wisdom? When you say, I need 20 minutes to recharge, you're not closing a door. You're building one that opens both ways. You're saying, I value this enough to show up whole. not depleted, not resentful, not hollowed out. The not now is an act of love. It's the anchor that allows a genuine yes to exist later. A clear boundary doesn't push people away. It creates the only space where real connection can breathe. So the question becomes, who are you protecting when you protect your own energy? Everyone. And how do you actually say these things? You're sitting across from someone whose eyes are searching your face for a yes you cannot give, and your chest tightens because you know the disappointment landing there is real. It will sting. They may not call again. The relationship may shift. But here's what nobody tells you. The person you're trying to be, stretched across every demand, every need, every expectation, that person doesn't actually exist. She's a ghost. And ghosts exhaust the living. Some of your no's aren't rejections, they're survival. They're the difference between temporary disappointment and permanent resentment, between their frustrated evening and your fractured soul. You cannot pour from a cup that's been shattered trying to fill every vessel in the room. The hard truth is this: honoring yourself means someone won't understand, and that's the cost you choose to pay. You notice it first in the mirror, that quiet steadiness in your eyes that wasn't there before. In a world designed to extract everything you have, your refusal to be emptied becomes an act of defiance. When you rest, you're not retreating, you're resisting. Your full cup threatens the machinery that needs you depleted, desperate, always reaching for the next thing. And here's what they don't tell you. Your rested presence is contagious. When others see you choosing yourself, protecting your energy like it matters, something shifts in them too. The permission you give yourself becomes permission for everyone watching. This is how revolutions start. Not with noise, with presence. Water streams across your shoulders and you notice, really notice, the temperature shifting from scalding to warm. This is your shower. Not a box you check before work, not an efficiency to optimize. The steam rises, your breath deepens. This is where your day actually begins. Your commute becomes classroom. A podcast fills the quiet space between destinations, learning woven into dead time. The miles dissolve into ideas. Chopping vegetables transforms into presence. Your knife finds rhythm. Onion layers fall beneath your blade with intention. This isn't meal prep. It's meditation with a purpose you'll taste. Even chores become doorways. Laundry folding, dishwashing, sweeping, these are your rituals of return. Your hands know the work. Your mind finally catches up. Integration isn't another thing to do. It's making everything you already do into something that matters. You notice it first in your hands, how they move slower now, more intentional, not rushed, not trembling. Your child asks you to build something, and instead of counting the minutes until bedtime, you find yourself imagining. Actually, imagining. Your creativity doesn't have to beg for scraps anymore. It rises like bread, like breath, like possibility. The patience you offer isn't performance. It's what naturally pools when you finally slept, when someone has held space for your breaking, when you've been tended to. And here's what they don't tell you. Your overflow becomes their oxygen. Your presence, not perfect, just present, becomes the thing they remember, the thing that changes them. This is what happens when you stop pouring from empty. When someone walks into a room where you've finally stopped rushing, they feel it before they understand it. Your shoulders aren't braced anymore. Your voice doesn't crack with that familiar strain. And something in them, something they've been holding tight, begins to soften too. This is what happens when you choose yourself. Your peace becomes a sanctuary. Not because you've announced it, but because they can breathe in your presence now. They watch you set a boundary and suddenly give themselves permission to do the same. They see you rest without guilt, and the weight they've been carrying on their own shoulders gets a little lighter. You're not just healing yourself, you're showing the people you love what wholeness looks like. Your full heart becomes contagious, and from there everything changes. There's a mirror in front of you, and for the first time in years, you recognize the person looking back. Not because you've changed, because you've stopped running. Your hands remember softness now. The way you touch your own face, it's different, gentler, like you're finally allowed to be tender with yourself. Your shoulders drop an inch lower than they've been in a decade. Your breath finds its own rhythm, no longer borrowed from someone else's expectations. This is what coming home feels like. Not a place, a person, you. The sanctuary you've been searching for was never somewhere else. It was always the quiet you create when you finally decide you're worth protecting. And in this moment, you understand. Self-care isn't vanity. It's how the soul remembers it belongs to you. When you choose to honor yourself, you become a mirror that someone else will look into someday and finally recognize their own worth. This isn't vanity. This is inheritance. Every time you say no to what drains you, you're teaching a child, maybe your own, maybe someone you'll never meet, that their boundaries matter. Every time you choose rest instead of collapse, you rewire the story that's been passed down. That suffering is noble, that exhaustion is love. The world you build by choosing wholeness isn't just prettier, it's different. It operates on different rules. Rules where care isn't weakness, where self-respect isn't selfish. You're not just changing your life, you're changing the pattern itself. And that ripple, it travels further than you'll ever know. There's a moment when you finally set down the weight you've been carrying, and your shoulders remember what it feels like to rise. What becomes possible then? Who are you when the exhaustion stops defining your edges? When you're not running on fumes, speaking in half-finished sentences, moving through rooms like a ghost of yourself? Imagine a world where every caregiver arrives home full instead of hollow, where the people you love see your whole self, not just the remnants. This is your choice now. Depletion or wholeness, running or returning. The legacy you leave isn't just what you do for others, it's what you model about what matters. Which story will you write with your life?